the 8 metrics that matter for PPC. So let me just get into the introductions. Everyone knows Perry already. He's the most popular author for Google AdWords on the planet. And I just wanted to say a little bit about myself. I've been doing paid search for about 10 years, and I founded a company called WordStream, and we are an industry-leading provider of PPC management tools as well as keyword research tools.
And I just want to tell a little quick story here that'll help introduce things. About a year ago, my team had started this project where we wanted to automate the scoring of Google AdWords accounts to where, and we had begun to do it manually, and we were hoping to eventually write a piece of software where it would just take a snapshot of your account and say, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, you're a 7, and here's where you're still falling down. And it proved to be more tedious than we thought, and it kind of got bogged down. And then all of a sudden, I discovered somebody had already done this, and it was WordStream. And so we got in touch with these guys, and we really liked their tool. And hey, you know, I'm all for automation and tools that make your job easier. Some tools make your life more complicated, but sometimes they really help. And so, you know, when you have a great tool, it enables you to focus on the principle of what you're doing rather than the tedium, and it enables you to be more creative instead of just pushing numbers around. And so I thought if we could get these guys doing a webinar and talking about the things that surface in all this data and what really matters, I think it would help everybody, regardless of what tools you use. So that's kind of the backstory. So I'm glad you're here and that we could do this.
Well, thank you, Perry. I wasn't aware of the backstory that you guys were hoping to do something like that, and yes, it is really quite a challenge to build these things. So I really appreciate those words. Which brings us to our our webinar topic, which is this idea of key AdWords metrics or key PPC metrics that matter. And as anyone who's ever done any work in AdWords or PPC knows, there's dozens or even hundreds of different metrics and numbers and ratios to track of when you're analyzing your search marketing performance. And while having all this data, it's great, but it can often lead to sort of an information overload, which can sometimes be paralyzing, and therefore it's really important to have as a skill the ability to hone in on the metrics that will provide the most insight into your overall performance. And that's the topic of our webinar today, which is what are the most key metrics to focus on in your PPC account and why. And so I have an exciting agenda for you today. I'm going to be, with Perry, we'll be describing some of the 8 important metrics that I think are really important for successful AdWords performance. And in order to illustrate some of these ideas, I'm going to be reviewing real accounts. So we're going to be holding an AdWords account clinic. So we'll be sort of diagnosing the patient. We'll see, like, how is this AdWords account doing? What are the problems that are killing the account, and what's not going well, and what's doing well? How can we fix it? And we're gonna review 2 accounts today, and also show you how those 8 key metrics sort of kind of predict the success or failure in those accounts. And in order to do these kind of this clinic, we're going to be using this Adwords Grader that Perry mentioned earlier, and of course we'll take all of your questions at the end. And by the way, we'll be live blogging. If you want to do live blogging, there's some people who are monitoring the hashtag PPC metrics. So if you want to just join a discussion on Twitter, if you include the PPC metrics hashtag on your posts, you can join in the discussion. Perry, do you have anything to add?
Well, I'm all about 80-20, and if you can take hundreds of metrics and reduce it to a few simple ones, that's going to get you by far the majority of the progress that you need. So,
Yeah, absolutely. In AdWords, it seems like you could do work forever, like 80
Oh,
hours a week,
sure.
and then it's like, where do you end? So you got to have to prioritize and have a efficient workflow, and so that's kind of what we're hoping to do by talking about these metrics in today's discussion. So Laura, before we can get to all the questions from the users, I thought we could ask our users or our listeners some questions. We've got a live poll. Question number 1, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about what I think are sort of the most important metrics in AdWords or PPC search marketing. But I'd be curious before getting into everything, if you could weigh in with your opinion. So we're just opening a live poll, and if you could pick from one of the kind of the clusters of metrics below. I mean, it's by no means an exhaustive list of all the metrics, but maybe just pick one that you think that you might focus on. And while the results are coming in, hey, Perry, I was wondering what you thought about this matter, like without wanting to bias everyone here because it's a live poll. But
well, my classical direct marketing education says the middle one: conversions, cost per conversion, conversion rate. But of course, it depends on who you're trying to make happy today. So I'll be interested in seeing what you guys think the right answer is.
Yeah, of course.
Right now
Conversions and
oh, sorry.
Yes,
just to let you know, we have about 65% of the audience has voted. So we'll get. I think it'd be good to give the group a little more time to get their votes in, maybe another 30 seconds, and in that time I just wanted to ask both Larry and Perry to definitely speak up. We are getting some feedback that there are some sound issues or some difficulty with folks hearing you, so just ask you to be extra loud. And I will actually close the poll now and share the results so that everybody can see.
So how did we do?
Looks like 73% were focused on conversions, cost per conversion, and conversion rate. So pretty, and then everything else was a lot smaller percentage.
I hope it's not because you asked me that. I didn't want to.
No, that was coming in way before you guys had that exchange. Okay, I'll hide the results for now.
And I just have one other question for the audience, and that is, how long have you been personally involved with search marketing? And if you can choose from one of the options here, Laura, can we get that poll on the screen? Thank you. And while that's coming in, Perry, I was just wondering, how long have you been in this business?
9 years and 11 months. It'll be 10 years in next month.
So we're like real dinosaurs here then.
we are dinosaurs. There's a nice thing about being a dinosaur, which is you don't fret and obsess over every last little bell and whistle they come up with. You're like, okay, that's nice.
I didn't even have an E 9 years into the survey. So how are we doing, Laura?
I shared the results here. It looks like a pretty even spread, to be honest.
Interesting.
Across the board. So very interesting.
I think you probably have everything from newbies to ninjas on this call.
Why is it that search marketers can compare themselves to ninjas?
Because we're all extremely competitive. At my Maui seminar a couple years ago, I asked how many people, there's 100 people in the room, said how many of you are brown belt or above in martial arts, and out of 100 there was 8. Now that's like way above average. So I think there's this thing with martial arts and pay-per-click. It's like the Zen-like, competitive sport.
I think you may
well, one of your attendees says, maybe it's ego.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to win. Got to be number 1.
Perry, you might be onto something. One of the guys who does the search marketing at WordStream, he does kendo, so that's kind of like a ninja. So let's move on to the topic at hand here. Basically, at WordStream, at WordStream we work with thousands of small and medium-sized businesses, and they're all trying to do the same thing. They're all just trying to succeed at online advertising with Google AdWords or Bing or other paid search marketing platforms. And every week, we see hundreds and hundreds of prospects, and some of them appear to be doing great. Others are just doing okay, and some not so well. And recently, we wanted to figure out why that was. Why do some advertisers have a lot of success in paid search, whereas others not as much success? And we wanted to really get to the bottom of this mystery. And so we analyzed thousands of AdWords accounts across hundreds of different metrics across these accounts. And we summarized, like I actually did this data analysis. I summarized all of this data and tried to figure out, what were the metrics that were the most predictive of AdWords account success or failure. And so basically, I don't think any company has done this kind of extensive research into thousands of accounts across all these different metrics. And I even met with Google.
Other than Google, who then does not bother to connect that in any way to the advice that they give to people when they call them on the phone.
Of course. So basically, speaking of Google, we even met with them last month to kind of share our findings, and I don't it was very interesting. And so basically, in this presentation today with Perry, we'll be we'll be discussing those 8 metrics. They're listed out on the screen here, and I'm going to be kind of explaining why I think they're so important. Why do they provide such an excellent performance overview or like indicator of the health of your account? And in order to do this, we're going to be using that tool, that free AdWords Grader that we were talking about earlier. It's just a really cool free tool for automatically analyzing your AdWords account performance. And one of the neat things about this is it actually benchmarks the performance in your account against other companies that are similar in size as you. So like that way you can get a sense for how you're doing against the competition. And as Perry was saying, search is very competitive. And so you want to know not only how you're doing, but where you stand amongst your peers. And the other interesting aspect of this tool is it's very visual, and so that way we can look at kind of graphs and things instead of looking at boring spreadsheets. And it's a free tool, as Perry was mentioning earlier, so you can just go to wordstream.com/AdWords, and you can channel your inner nerd and try to figure out how you're doing or not. And so let's get started. We're just going to run this little AdWords clinic. I thought we could review these 2 real accounts and talk about sort of the metrics and how they're doing and what we can do to improve. Okay. So the first AdWords account, this is a real account, first of all, and I've kind of blurred out the name, but that's just to protect the innocent, or from humiliation. But this is really a real AdWords account, spending roughly $7,000 a month, as you can see here, on average. And so the first thing I wanted to say is that we grade your performance against other advertisers spending a similar amount. So this guy is in the insurance industry, but it's a small local business, like just it's not Geico. So we didn't want to compare it against like Geico.com, who might be spending millions of dollars and have teams and teams of search engine people. So we're comparing against other people kind of in your spend range with similar amount at stake, and it's saying it's got a 4% grade. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how the heck do we grade this thing and give them a 4%. It has to do with an analysis of these 8 key metrics that I was talking to you about. Okay, so let's dive right in. The first one is this notion of wasted spend. I think this is a critical metric because it has a huge impact on your overall return on investment on paid search. You can't expect to have great profits or high margins if you're not keeping the costs down by looking out for irrelevant searches that aren't relevant to your business. And so the best way to kind of keep your keywords very targeted is to use intelligent usage of negative keywords. And this is a very important targeting option that allows you to exclude your ads from showing up on ads, on searches that aren't relevant to your business. And what I'm showing here in this graph here is that they've actually added no negative keywords in the last quarter, whereas other businesses in that range added around 3,500 negative keywords in that same time period. And similarly, they've done nothing in the last month, whereas other vendors have done around 1,500. So this not only tells you where you stand, and also how you're doing against other vendors. And so it's saying kind of 1 percentile. So it's kind of like your SAT percentile ranking, because this is the worst one we've seen. What do you think of this one, Larry?
Larry, just wanted to ask again if you could speak up, maybe even yell on our end, just because we are getting some feedback that it's still hard to hear.
Okay, how's this? Okay, so that's our first metric, and moving along, there's a couple of these metrics. One is a quality score. Now, quality score, that's Google's measurement of the relevance of your keywords. It's a very important metric because Google uses your quality score to determine your ad positioning. As also, it is used to determine the cost per click of your ads. And so the biggest impact thing that the biggest factor influencing quality score is your click-through rate. So you want to have a high click-through rate. But in this graph, what we're showing is sort of the distribution of impressions at different quality score levels. So obviously a quality score of 10 is really good, and a quality score of 1 is really bad. And this particular advertiser is getting a lot of, the lion's share of their impressions are happening at quality score 3 and 4, whereas this other curve, this yellow curve, is sort of the average curve of what we see in other accounts. And so you can see that this particular account has a very low average quality score of 3.8 versus an average of 5.6 from other vendors or other advertisers. So
what I notice here, by the way, is you're confirming something I've seen a lot, which is quality scores of 8, 9, and 10 are very rare, and people probably should not obsess over getting their thing above a 7 if they're having a hard time, but definitely those 3s and 4s are a problem.
Great. Our next metric in the list here is impression share, and in a nutshell, impression share is just a ratio of the number of times your ad shows up divided by the number of times your ads were eligible to show up. So meaning an impression share of 50% means that 50% of the time your ads are showing. And Google might not want to show your ads if either you didn't have enough budget, or worse, if it thought that your ads weren't very relevant and didn't like your ads. And so this is just showing here, you want to have a high share of impressions because that means more clicks and more eyeballs and more sales for your business if you're doing a good job at keyword targeting. Now, this particular advertiser is actually losing the lion's share of the impression share. So 68% of the time, Google doesn't even think it's worth its while to show the ads, whereas only 29% of the time their ads are showing, and that's because of poor relevancy. Any thoughts, Perry?
Well, nothing profound here. If your ad's only showing 20% of the time, then obviously there's a lot. Well, yet, I do have a comment. Most people don't realize how much traffic Google can send them when they're doing a really good job. That's probably what I want to say. So,
cool. That's right. I agree. Our next metric has to do with click-through rate. Now, everyone knows click-through rate. It's how many times you got clicked on versus how many times your ads was shown. And click-through rate. What's a great click-through rate? It depends. It depends on your ad position. So if you're in the top spot, you're going to be predisposed to having a much higher click-through rate because people like to click on the thing in the first spot, right? And whereas if you're in the 10th spot, you're going to have a lower click-through rate. So it's really sometimes hard to know what's a great click-through rate, because your ads sometimes show up in all different positions. And so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to figure out what is your account click-through rate any good. And to do this, we're doing a little bit of a regression analysis of all of the different keywords in this advertiser's account at all, what are the click-through rates at all the different positions, and we're trying to figure out how does that compare to what you would expect to get. And in this case, most of this, you can see these little green dots are the different keywords being plotted on this graph, and most of them are actually below average, like below this yellow curve, and that means that the click-through rates of just 1% are not very good, and there's a possibility for improvement here. And the reason why this matters, of course, is because, as I mentioned earlier, click-through rate is the #1 factor for determining your quality score, which in turn determines both the ranking of your ad as well as the cost that you pay for the click. And I think Perry even refers to this as an AdWords stupidity tax. Perry, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, in Google, you can either spend more money or you can write better ad copy, and either way, you'll get a better position. But I'd sure like to write better ad copy and attract more eyeballs and clicks. And a lot of people don't realize that the guy next to him might be paying 1/5 as much as they are for the same click. And so this is an easy one to improve. You just brush up your copywriting.
Absolutely. Next is account activity. So like anything else in life, we find that in AdWords, you sort of get out of it what you put into it. And nothing profound here. We looked at account activity levels, like the number of logins, the number of new or edited ad groups, the number of deleted or new keywords or bid changes. And what we found was that there was a strong correlation between account activity and success. What I mean by this is that advertisers who are more actively managing their account were doing far better than those who were neglecting their accounts or just placing them on autopilot. And in this graph, what you can see here, it just looks at changes like new campaigns or deleted ad text, or like how many times did you make changes in your account. And this particular advertiser hasn't really been doing anything in the last 30 days, and it's done a very minimal amount in the last 90 days. And so that's why he's getting scored at the 1% level. Next on our list is long-tail keyword optimization. Long-tail keywords are the sort of more narrow and specific keywords containing of 2 or 3 or more words, as opposed to head terms, which are the kind of the more obvious and general unspecific words like insurance or whatever. And in a nutshell, it's really important in order to target mid and long-tail keywords, because those are the keywords that are going to have high intent in terms of conversion potential. Those are the keywords that you can really message very granular and targeted messages towards, and that will get the high click-through rates. And so all we're doing in this account is just looking at what percentage of their impressions are happening at these 1- and 2-word keywords, which is actually the majority of the account. And only 17% of this account is targeting sort of the mid and long tail keywords. And so that's why this particular account has a 12% score in this account section. Moving along, ad text optimization. Perry was mentioning you need to write better ads, and one way of measuring the ads is just the effort. Like, how many ads do you have in your account? If you're spending $7,000 a year like this advertiser, how many ads are enough? Because you don't want to send all of your traffic to just one ad, right? Obviously two ads is better than 1, 3 is better than 2, but how many is enough? So in this spend range, what we're finding is that advertisers tend to have on average around 800 ads, whereas this particular advertiser only has maybe 5 or 10 ads. It's not very many, and so that might be an indication that you can do better. In fact, his best ad is only doing a 1.9% click-through rate, which is, that's hardly, I wouldn't call that an outstanding performance at all. Similarly, landing page optimization, the same idea. Ideally, you shouldn't send all of your traffic to the same home page or to the same offer. You should have different types of offers that are relevant to the different types of keywords in your account. And this particular advertiser only had 3 landing pages, whereas other advertisers had many, many more. And so that would be a really interesting area where they can improve conversion ratios, conversion rates by having more targeted offers. And our last metric today, it's kind of a catch-all. I'm calling this metric adherence to PPC best practices. Now, every search marketing manager has slightly different tactics and different ways of managing their accounts according to their objectives. But I think there's a couple fundamental best practices that every paid search marketer ought to be adhering to. And I'm talking about stuff like, are you using network targeting or geo-targeting or language targeting and negative keywords, or et cetera. Like just using these metrics, using these features of AdWords or Bing or whatever, and it's going to give you kind of a passing or failing grade depending on whether or not you're leveraging those best practices. And of course, these best practices are designed to help you increase relevancy and improve your account performance. So Perry, given sort of this overall grade of just 4% and sort of the systematic issues that seem to be plaguing this account, what would you do here?
I would do massive peel and stick and target things more narrowly and start testing a bunch of ads and more negative keywords, and it wouldn't take long to save several $1,000s a month.
Absolutely. And it's not always this bad, actually. I know we just reviewed that account. I wanted to quickly review one other account, and it's an example of kind of a above-average performer. So this is a different advertiser who's scoring a 98% on their grade. And I'm just going to go quickly through this report. But as you can see, they're doing a lot of negative keyword research, more than other vendors the same size as them. Look at this quality score distribution. Like this guy, he only has quality scores of 10 and 7. And you know, I thought that was really unusual, so I actually called him on the phone and I asked him, like, how did you do this? And he just tells me, you know, like even though Perry says, like, you don't have to obsess over this stuff, I just wanted to show that it is actually possible. His strategy is just being very picky. He tries to you know, do the best he can on the keywords that he thinks are relevant to his business, and if not, he actually cuts them loose and tries to find other keywords and tries to work those ones. So that's pretty remarkable. You know, the impression share, it's the opposite of that other account that we just saw. This account is actually showing up for 89% of the searches, available searches, and it's only losing 11% of impression share. So that's because the relevancy of the keywords are so high. The quality scores are always 7 and 10. You know, look at this click-through rate graph. His average click-through rate is 14%. All right, and he's not even in the first position. He's in the, on average, he's in the second 2.8 position, almost position 3. And so you can see all of these keywords are like astronomically higher than the average click-through rate at those different ad positions. See how those plots are above the yellow line. So that's amazing. So how does he do that? Well, it has to do with hard work. He's doing some keyword research, looking up new keyword ideas. He's trying to write better ads, like 21 ads in the last 90 days. He's created different campaigns and different ad groups to better target them. And he's also doing long-tail keyword optimization. What I mean by this is, remember that other account where it was mostly targeting those, you know, very broad and unspecific one-word keywords? This account is the opposite. So he's almost ignoring the one-word keywords and is just going for 2- and 3-word, more specific keywords. And that's how he's able to get such high click-through rates of 14%, which is giving him the quality scores of 7 and 10. And as for ad text optimization, Perry was saying that's really important. And this guy, he's doing a lot of relevant ads, like more than other vendors his size. And he's also doing a good job at landing page segmentation. So lots of different offers according to different things that he's advertising for. And one of the neat things, when I called him, I said, like, that's incredible. You have like 29% click-through rates on your ads. And you know what he told me? He said, yeah, but I can still do better. I can still work on these low converting ads because I can still maybe try to get these a little better. So what I just wanted to point out is that he doesn't kind of rest on his laurels. He's kind of taking it as a marathon, and this is kind of looking at his account as a in the long run, and making sure that he's managing it over time. And lastly, this account is taking advantage of every single feature that you can think of in AdWords in order to improve his relevancy and his click-through rate. So what do you think, Barry?
He's a little bit obsessive, and he'd be a great AdWords account manager for somebody. So that's great.
Yeah, we don't want to. You don't have to. Like, this is definitely an outlier. You don't have to manage your account this way. The purpose of this was just to merely say that you're not kind of predestined to having a terrible account. Like, if you do some work, you'll do better than if you don't. So basically, I thought we could then. Oh, sorry, Barry.
It's not rocket science either. I mean, this is just, eating the elephant one bite at a time and injecting some creativity. The fact that the guy's got a lot of different landing pages is surely helping his quality scores. Yeah, it is rare to see more quality score 10 than 7. Also, 8 and 9s virtually do not exist. So you could, if you were paying close attention, you'd see that from Larry's graphs and stuff. So yeah, keep going. This is good.
Cool.
Gentlemen, there was just one question, Larry. Just a question, a few questions actually around the industry that of the top performer that you went through, and wondering if that's something that you could share with the group.
This particular industry was in the automotive industry of the second high-performing ad, and the poor-performing advertiser was in the insurance industry. Okay.
Great.
But we definitely see high and low performers in all different types of industries. So there's always average, above average, below average. So that's very typical. So as I was mentioning earlier, as I was doing this study, I thought it would be interesting to actually call the people who have these accounts and try to pick their brain and figure out how did you do that? Like, only quality score 10s? Like, I don't see that very often. And basically, I called them. We interviewed them. In fact, there's a bunch of interviews on our blog, wordsfrom.com/blog, where we interview about 20 high performers who scored 95% or better. And basically, I just asked them a couple straightforward questions like, how did you do it? Any tips for the rest of us? And I just wanted to summarize sort of what they said here. The first one has to do with getting familiar with your search query report. So Rick Archer, he was telling me that he pays a lot of attention to the search query report because it's a neat way of doing keyword research. He can figure out how people are finding his ads and what to exclude from his account. And so just periodic review of that. Tip number 2, focus on relevancy. This is from Marco, and he's just saying, like what we're talking about, just narrow, focused ad groups, and trying to improve relevancy and click-through rate. Stefan here says that you shouldn't be afraid to spend a little bit of extra money up front to generate the data that is required to optimize and analyze your campaign in the long run. And so he's just trying to get things off to a good start and optimize from there. Tip number 4 is again from Stefan. He was one of our top scorers. He's just saying, he's a logger. What I mean by this is he logs everything. He tries to remember what it is that he did and what the actions resulted in. And by being organized, being able to kind of identify cause and effect, he's more able to reproduce success. and that seems pretty obvious, but that was an important tip. And our last tip comes from Perry Marshall. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yes, peel and stick, which is you got an ad group and it's got a bunch of keywords in it. Anything that doesn't fit needs to, that's not in that narrow silo of the same topic needs to be peeled out, stuck in another ad group, and given its own ads. And also, even exceptional performers, if there's one keyword that is outperforming all the other ones, it probably deserves its own ad group, so that your top 10 ad groups probably should only have 1 or 2 or 3 keywords each in them, because you're just completely customizing the ads and everything, and the landing pages and everything. And even an account that's a huge mess, if you just do this to the top 5% of your keywords, it won't be a mess anymore.
Yeah, that's really promising, because I think a lot of times people get feel frustrated or overwhelmed if things aren't going right. But it's great to hear that you can, even just by doing a little bit of segmentation or peel and stick, that you can turn things around a little bit. All right, so shifting gears a little bit, we've been talking a little bit about the metrics so far. We reviewed these accounts, and we've been talking about metrics in terms of like quality score and kind of the theory behind all this stuff. But how can we make this more concrete? Like, how can we actually do the work that we're talking about here to write the ads or add the keywords or segment the ad groups? And of course, you can do everything manually, but in order to save some time, WordStream is a provider of a PPC management platform that does a lot of automation around a lot of the activities that are required to optimize a PPC account. And so I'm not going to demo everything, but I just wanted to show like 2 or 3 things, 2 or 3 features of WordStream that are designed to help optimize and automate these accounts. The first one is this a feature called Query Stream. I remember one of our top performers mentioned that he spends a lot of time in his search query report trying to be, figure out how people found his site and add those keywords if they're relevant and remove them if they're bad. And one of our features in WordStream is Query Stream, which allows you to have a tremendous insight into the search query report. It has very powerful filters and allows you to easily identify different search queries that you're paying for, and it's actionable. You can either add them to your account or set them as negatives if they're not relevant. I think the key benefit of this tool over AdWords is just it's very easy and fast and productive, and making it much easier to work with. Just going to highlight 2 other features, and one of them is this thing called WordStream's 20-minute PPC work week. So I've included a screenshot of that on the right-hand side of the screen here. And what that is like WordStream is going to do a tremendous amount of account analysis, and it'll kind of analyze all the different metrics in your account and try to figure out what's working and what's not working, and will bubble up some recommendations, some low-hanging fruit that's going to likely result in the biggest possible impact for ROI. And it's so simple. All you do is you just review and approve the findings, and we've made this very quick, easy, and powerful, such that realistically, like in 20 minutes a week, you can improve the ROI of your AdWords account by 20% or more. And as you can see on the right-hand side, there's like tasks for doing a little bit of negative keyword research. We've figured out what are the non-converting terms, and could you review some of these ideas for negative keywords? Or we've done a lot of analysis on conversions and clicks in your account, and we have some bid recommendations, or we analyze some of the poor performing keywords in your account, and can you review it if they should be kept alive or if they should be paused, that kind of stuff. And here's what it looks like. This is just one of those tools. It's an add negative keyword tool, and see, instead of you having to do all that analysis work of figuring out like what's working and what's not, WordStream's done that analysis. It says like, these are a bunch of terms, negative keyword contenders, like maybe you might want to consider adding these. You spent $159.81 on this term, custom lab coats, like so the word custom is the modifier, and maybe you can set it as a negative keyword, and if you do so, you'll save $437.25 in the next year, and then you just click apply. And so, this particular advertiser, it doesn't sell custom lab coats, and so that would be a great negative keyword candidate. As for this idea of targeting mid and long tail keywords with WordStream, one of the really neat features that we have is this trillion keyword database. So it's the largest repository of keyword research on the planet, and even bigger than Google because Google doesn't reveal all the data. And so this would give you a decisive advantage in search by knowing like how people are searching for things. It'll help you identify mid and long tail keywords for your business that you might have missed out on. And basically, here's what it looks like. It's a screenshot. It's a tool called Top New Keyword Opportunities. And notice how we're saying like if you add these keywords, you could get this many more clicks and this many more customers per month. And we're never going to recommend words like insurance or something that's very broad and unspecific. We're going to look for kind of mid-tail keywords that have a good amount of search volume, and making that keyword research very automated and also relevant. So we kind of analyze the ad group that you're working out of, and we would never add the keywords that aren't relevant to the ad text that you're running. And so that's a lot of work that you could do manually, or you could leverage just productivity tools. And lastly, we have a really neat tool called Split Ad Groups, and it's a little bit like what Perry was talking about. It has to do with ad group segmentation, like breaking up one ad group into 2 or 3 or 4 more narrow, more specific ad groups. And what this does is it just analyzes the relevancy of the keywords and tries to figure out, like what Perry was saying, which keywords belong and which ones don't belong. And it's like a defragmenter. It'll propose kind of a new solution, and you just review and approve it, as opposed to having to think about all that, and analyzing that. And definitely you could do that manually, but this could help you save time. And so that's the last feature that I just want to talk about briefly. But we should summarize here because we want to take some questions. In our presentation today, we talked about these 8 PPC metrics that matter. They're listed on the screen here. We talked a little bit about how it's possible to leverage tools and automation to enable the best practices, which in turn can result in more clicks, more sales, and cost savings, so better ROI on paid search. And finally, just this idea that paid search is not like a get-rich-quick kind of scheme. It's a serious thing that you have to take seriously and that you have to dedicate time and effort towards, and if you want to do it right. And we're saying for best results, we're thinking you should be dedicating some time, at least 20 minutes a week, if possible, towards doing some of those AdWords account optimization tasks. And if you don't have 20 minutes a week to spend, then you should be talking to people like Perry Marshall or WordStream to see if they can have any capability to do the work for you. So what do you think, Perry?
Well, we don't do account management, but we absolutely believe that AdWords is it's $1,000 an hour work when you're doing the right things, and when you're only focused on the important stuff, it's even more than $1,000 an hour work. So that's a very valuable 20 minutes a month that you're investing in your AdWords account.
Cool. So Laura, I think at this point, I think we have another live poll question for the audience. Laura, do you want to kick that one on?
I will. And I would also ask for folks to get their questions in so that we can focus on answering those in the last couple of minutes. And what we've got up here is just a few offers for you if you're interested in actually having a account analysis with one of our experts. They'll run the report, the Grader tool on your account and talk you through the results. That's an offer that we have available for the audience here today. Also, if you're interested in a free trial, you could, of our PPC advisor, where Larry demoed some of the functionality there of the 20-minute work week. And also, if you'd like a demo of that software, you can let us know. And if you'd like information about specific training with Perry, you can let us know about that too. And we'll let that stay up here for folks to answer, and I will throw some questions at you guys. Okay, no problem. There was a question about the actual Grader tool and, what is considered a good score.
Okay. Well, it is graded on a percentile basis. So a score of 50% means that of the accounts that we've seen, half of them are below you and half of them are above you. So that's not an F, it's just it's average. Now obviously, should you be striving for average? It depends. One of the things that we do is we're only comparing it to other advertisers in your spend range, so with similar investment at stake in AdWords. And so I would think that like if you're spending, say, just throw out a number like $5,000 a month, wouldn't you want to make that that money allocated in the kind of the best way possible and avoid the AdWords tax? And you'd probably want to shoot for 70, 80 plus percentile range. If you're really a nerd, maybe you might want to work harder.
I think you should be shooting for at least 75, because the fact is 3% of the advertisers on AdWords get 50% of the traffic. That's the fact, okay? So you have to be in the top 5% just to really get a good showing. And now, obviously, most of those are deadbeats, and they're not even serious about it and everything like that. But if people are submitting their account to WordStream and looking at it, they're probably above average people. They're probably players. So I don't know that you got to be a perfectionist and be in the 95%, but I bet you if you're in the top 85+%, you're actually going to be making money and you're going to be happy with what you're doing, and you can get there from here. Whatever it is that's costing you points, you can do something about it. That's the good news.
Great. There's a question, I'm assuming, Perry, from one of your someone who's taken your classes, that would you recommend using WordStream from the start of your campaign, or would you wait until your AdWords account has some history in it or data to start leveraging software or a solution like WordStream?
That's a good question. Well, I'm interested in what you guys would say. I think you need to learn how to build an AdWords account, and you need to basically master the basics. It's sort of like when Google Conversion Optimizer came out. It's like, oh, so I could just Google pick the keywords for me and blah blah. Well, I'm not so sure that's a good idea. Okay, you need to learn how it works, but I think fairly quickly you can start scoring yourself. What do you guys think?
So you're talking about education as being the number one, and I would definitely second that. So it's but even once you know the best practices, sometimes it's kind of tedious, or they can take a long time, or would require a lot of data analysis, and so that's where WordStream can come in.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have a good understanding of the basics, but it doesn't mean that you have to do those same repetitive tasks every day.
That's right.
So that's where a tool like WordStream would come in.
Yep.
I'd also add there that there are some great tools that are part of, I mean, Larry talked about the 20-minute PPC workweek, which is great to maintain your account over time, but there also are some great tools that actually help you structure accounts in the best way so that you are setting yourself up for success. So I think, it all depends on where you're at and where you need the most help. All right, I will jump to another question. Let's see. What is the best PPC book out there? Well, gee, Perry, you might be a little biased in that question.
I'm not gonna answer that question. I'm cheating, so you guys are welcome to jump in on that if you want.
So
Larry,
Perry
do you have
Marshall
any?
is the author of the best-selling book on AdWords, and we work with a lot of companies, and Perry is very well respected, and his techniques are very solid and sound. So I strongly recommend looking at his training material. It's solid.
Thank you.
Great. So here's a question. Wow, a lot of questions coming in. All right. Clearly, the landing page is very important, but that requires changing my website. How does your PPC 20-minute workweek deal with the need for new landing pages to go with new ad groups?
Our software has a powerful keyword ad group segmenter. So like a tool that allows you to kind of separate ad groups into smaller ad groups that are more focused. And by having done that analysis, you can mentally try to align your landing pages to the different ad groups. But we don't specifically have a a landing page wizard or anything like that. Sorry.
Okay. Do you have any opinion on the new automated rules that change bids, budget, and status across multiple accounts in an MCC account?
Perry, do you want to talk
Either
about
of you
that one?
Can. Well, first, I have to confess that I have not used that feature across a bunch of MCCs. Just know that when you execute automated rules, you need to think very carefully about all the chains of events that you can cause. And I would not recommend making a bunch of interlocking complex rules unless you're like a software programmer and you're used to thinking this way, because it's really easy to hamstring yourself, or suddenly everything's frozen up and you don't know why.
I second that. I think these automated bid rules have a lot of power, but also a lot of potential for account destruction. And yeah, just it's a little bit like a nuclear weapon. You don't want to mess around with it if you're not 100% sure what you're doing.
That sounds quite scary. Okay, a question of, does the WordStream program work on remarketing campaigns?
Of course. Yes, it does.
Of course. Okay.
Does it specifically give recommendations about adjusting the settings of remarketing?
Oh, sorry, just to clarify, most of our tools are, for the search network, like, finding negative keywords, doing, keyword expansion, or changing bids, or that kind of thing. We support the creation and editing of display campaigns, but we are not yet at a point where we have display network optimization tools. It's more just for the ongoing management of those campaigns and reporting.
That's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that.
There was a question about, so I'm summarizing here, but I think this is the intent of the question, that we talked about best practices and how the AdWords grader that WordStream provides helps you evaluate how you're doing against best practices. But would you say that Google themselves are actually automating all the the best practices into the way that AdWords is set up, or is does WordStream do something unique or above and beyond that?
Google is looking out for Google. Google is not looking out for you. And if you ever start to think that Google is truly on your side, you're about to get taken out for spanking. They are not the young idealistic company that they were 10 years ago, not by any stretch of the imagination. Sorry to paint an adversarial picture, but my advice is sleep with one eye open. And if all things being equal, I'll take a third-party tool over a Google tool. Google's tools often are very good, but look at what happens when you sign up for a new account. Okay, they put search and content network together. They push you towards high bids.
The default match type is broad match.
Oh yeah, the people call you on the phone and tell you to get rid of your exact matches and replace them with broad matches, which is like, instead of the free parking on the street, why didn't you park 30 miles away and take a limousine? It's just so. Well, I guess you know how I feel.
Okay.
About that.
So, Carrie, tell us how you really feel.
You guys go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/perrymarshall.com, and scroll down, go back in the history, and about a month ago, I said, how many of you have had Google call you up and try to help you with your AdWords campaigns? I got more Facebook comments from that than maybe anything else I've ever posted, and it was about 80% negative, and some of them are just absolute horror stories. I had a guy fly here from the UK for 4-man intensive, which cost $7,000, and Google had wasted $30,000 of his money a few months before, until he finally realized that it was a big disaster. I'm like, you realize how much good training you could have got from people that are actually looking out for your best interests for that $30,000? Sorry if I sound jealous, but and I'm glad he at least spent the money to get it fixed by somebody who knew what they were doing. But look, Google is not your friend.
I think,
okay.
Laura, part of the question was also, are some of the best practices being baked into the Google features and functions? I think I would say that Google is getting more and more complex. So it's every week or every month they roll out more and more advanced features, and I think that really it means that the need for knowledge, like training, and also the need for automation and to get a competitive advantage, like all those new features and functions in AdWords, they benefit people who are really sophisticated and have a lot of money to spend, and so it kind of increases the need for training and automation and tools, I think.
Okay. It looks like we're getting close to. It's 4 o'clock now. We actually still have quite a lot of people still on the webinar, so maybe we will throw. I'm just looking to see if there's a couple of other questions in here. No, I think we're in a good place. There are a fair amount of questions specifically about the WordStream platform and also our services. So I'll answer those at a very high level, but then also encourage you, if you do have questions about any of the offerings that we talked about here today about the PPC, the 20-minute PPC work week, or leveraging our free grader tool, or our services, which we do provide. Let's say that you don't have 20 minutes a week or more to devote towards PPC. WordStream has services that are right-sized for small to medium-sized businesses, and so we would be happy to talk to you about that. Just let us know through the survey, and we'll reach out to you. There were some questions about, does WordStream work with Google and Bing and Yahoo? I think the answer there is we're very close to integrating Ad Center into our platform. That's something we expect to have up and running very, very soon. This question about does the product support multiple profiles? And I think, Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but the answer is yes. You can manage many different accounts within your WordStream account.
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, I think we covered most of the questions. A lot of positive feedback towards the Google bashing. So people really liked that, Perry. But all in all, I think you guys provided a lot of great information for folks today, and we will be following up with the recording and the slides from the presentation today within a day or two with the group. So definitely stick around for that, and you can always email. Oh, Larry, I'm going to close this poll so that you can put up your contact information.
Sure. There it is. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, you can message me on Twitter or email, and then I put up Perry Marshall's Twitter as well. So.
Thank you.
Great.
Very good. Well, I just want to encourage everybody, give this thing a try. If it makes you nervous to enter your password, then change your password for 5 minutes and then change it back. But, get a profile of your account and see how you're doing. And, okay, it's a little scary, but, belly up to the bar and see how things are. And because there's always something you can improve, and those improvements put money in your pocket, and they put customers in your cash register. So it's a good thing. So.
And I would add just education is the key to success in AdWords as well, and the concepts that Perry Marshall talks about in his lectures and series are very critical to understanding AdWords and being successful. Okay.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Larry.
Thanks.